Right guys, welcome back. In this video we are going to be covering questions 8 and 9 from the 2018 paper 1. The reason we're covering both questions 8 and 9 is because they follow on from one another. They're both about explanations for forgetting. One of them is an outline and an application, which is question number 8, and question number 9 is an evaluation question. Okay, so we're going to do both of those together. Okay, so if you have a quick read of the STEM, pause the video if you feel like you need to. It's a forgetting STEM, and as part of that STEM you have some information that could potentially relate to retrieval failure, and you have some information that could potentially relate to interference. Question number 8 is outline one explanation for forgetting and how might it account for Aaron's poor performance in the Spanish exam. Okay, it is a 4-marker, but ultimately it is 2 marks for outline and 2 marks for application. Okay, so we'll have a look at the model answer for that in a minute. We'll just scroll down and have a look at question number 9 before we move on to the model answers. So question number 9 follows directly on from question number 8, logically, and this is an evaluation question, so briefly evaluate the explanation of forgetting that you have outlined in question 8. Okay, please be very careful with this. If you evaluate a different explanation to the one that you've outlined in question 8, then you will get no marks. Okay, that being said, if you haven't written an answer for question 8 and you still correctly evaluate an explanation for forgetting in question 9, you can still get some marks. Okay, so let's move over to the model answers and see how you could do this. So here is question 8. I went for interference. I thought it was the easier way to go. So I've got one explanation for forgetting is interference. This is when two similar memories conflict with one another, causing one or both items to become distorted or forgotten. You can, of course, talk about proactive interference and retroactive interference if you want, but I am very conscious of the fact that A, you only have 2 marks for outline, and B, you don't actually have very much space in this paper to answer the question. Okay, so what is there is plenty for the 2 marks. Okay, the application bit then is down at the bottom. In Aaron's case, the French and Spanish words had become confused in his memory, and that is likely because of the similarities between the 2 languages. Okay. Obviously, if you wanted to talk about retrieval failure, then you would talk about the absence of cues, and those cues can be internal or external, which is known as context or state-dependent forgetting. And then you could latch on to the fact that Aaron had to recall the things that he'd learned in an unfamiliar room, which would be context-dependent forgetting, and he was full of nerves, which meant that his internal state was different when he was trying to recall the information to when he learned it. Okay, either way would be fine, but I went for interference. Okay, and then moving on, we have question number 9, briefly evaluate the explanation of forgetting that you've outlined. So I did a strength of interference theory. I've only done one evaluation point because I knew that I'd be able to write a fairly long one. And I've done research support by Baddeley and Hitch. Okay, so I've color-coded my 4 different sections effectively of this evaluation point. You've got the point, you've got the procedure of Baddeley and Hitch's study, you've got the findings of Baddeley and Hitch's study, and then you have the conclusion or the link that explains why it is a strength of interference theory. Okay, it is a 4-marker. You could have done 2 shorter evaluation points if you wanted to, and that would also have got you the 4 marks, but there was no need to write 2 if you could get away with just writing 1. Okay, there are obviously other evaluation points as well that you could do. You had the research support by McGeoch and McDonald, which was also for interference. You've got things like limitations that interference can be overcome using cues. You know, there's all kinds of stuff that you could potentially have talked about, but this research support is the way I chose to go. Okay, I hope that's all made sense. Thank you very much for watching.